working in the spirit of the Golden Empire. Now, from Kern Golden Empire Television, 17 News.
Large and small businesses are feeling the impact of today's boycott, from Grimway farms to small car dealerships. Some have had to close up altogether. Others are going strong. Business anchor Galen Young with us tonight with more on that side of the story.
Jim, large businesses like Grimway and Bolthouse Farms, which employ a lot of Hispanic workers, have been anticipating some of those workers would take the day off. Other businesses say they were caught off guard and had to close down for the day. And when the owners of Jaguar Manufacturing on Union, for example, got to work today, they only had one employee show up, so they closed their doors for the day. And down the street on Golden State Avenue, Hacienda Motors, a little used car dealership there, had nobody show up for work, so the owners closed their doors too. Larger businesses like Bolthouse Farms, though, whose parking lot is normally full in the early afternoon, was pretty much empty today. They had a lot of people staying away. And Grimway Farms, one of the other larger employers of the county, had about 30% of its workforce off for the day. Grimway's human resource manager, Sean McNulty, tells me that they tried to talk with their workers last week about just who might be gone. So they did some more shipment orders last week, anticipating a slower day today. They'll make some of it up tomorrow, too. He says their workers are very important to their business, so they try to work with them in every way possible.
Always trying to approach it from a position where we can understand each other and work out a solution for them and for us that's going to work. Sure. And that's kind of why we spent last week trying to figure out whether it was feasible to continue to try to stay open and produce today, or whether we should make other arrangements. And, you know, the best we could gather, we figured it would be about how it's been today in terms of the amount of employees that stayed home.
Other businesses like this construction site were literally shut down. A lot of workers failing to show up today. And over at the Niagara Car Wash on 24th Street, a lot of employees, Hispanic workers, business was pretty much booming as usual in this warm weather. Now, while it's not known exact financial impact will be had from this boycott, the American Farm Bureau has estimated that national agricultural losses could be from $5 to $9 billion in 3 years if illegal laborers were actually pulled from the nation's fields. We'll have more on the business report coming up at 6. Jim?
Thanks, Galen. Also during today's rally, hundreds of people lining Oak Street in Bakersfield to form a human billboard. People chanting, as you've been hearing throughout this broadcast, "Si se puede." That means yes we can in Spanish. And they lined the street waving flags and signs for hours today. The United Farm Workers Union, which is well known for using that phrase during agricultural labor disputes, held rallies across the nation today as well in support of the boycott.
Old and young alike participated in today's boycott. At local schools, most of the teachers showed up for work today, but many of their students were absent. Thousands of students across Kern County traded in their history books for some real-life history. 17's Tisha Lewis joins us from the News Center with more.
Robin, from Bakersfield to Delano to Lamont, school officials say thousands of students were absent today. Protesters say it's about the impact of Latinos on this community. Many faces here today were those of children, elementary school children carrying backpacks packed for today's rally in the hot sun, not for school.
Because we came here to support the immigrants.
The Bakersfield City School District says about 20% of students at more than 40 of the schools in the district skipped school, presumably to attend this rally.
Ordinarily, we have about 1,200 kids missing. Today, we're at about 5,000.
Various school officials say the absences are costing the school districts on average $28 per student per day per absence. That means school districts across Kern County are losing thousands of dollars from the state on this day alone.
Whatever financial burden that we undertake, the educational burden that's happening today is far greater.
And absences to attend a political rally are unexcused.
Unless they have, a doctor's excuse, just like any other day.
3 or more unexcused absences means a student is considered truant, and parents could have to meet with school officials or face legal action.
I didn't come after school because that was the point, to make an impact.
Even more students were missing in outlying areas. 40% of students didn't come to school in Arvin, and nearly 50% of students and 10% of teachers didn't show up in Lamont. 20% of students were absent in the Edison Elementary School District. 30% of students were absent in the Fairfax School District. Attendance was normal in the Fruitville School District. 50% of students were no-shows at Wasco High School. 15% of students were absent in the Lakeside Union School District, and 30% were absent in the Richland School District, and Lost Hills Elementary School was closed. And the numbers are still pouring in.
The outlying areas are being impacted quite a bit. We're looking at Shafter, Wasco, Arvin, Bakersfield City somewhat. The really outlying areas not so much, like Mojave, Sierra Sands.
Cuauhtemoc de la Cruz says protesting for immigration reform provides his daughter with some real-life education outside the classroom. De la Cruz says the children need to come so they can see what Latinos are fighting for. Workers for the Kern County Superintendent of Schools office say education must come before protests for all students, even those children whose parents are not in the country legally. Ironically, various school districts are conducting standardized testing to determine future placement for students.
I understand that people want to voice their opinions and to assemble, but a kid's education is the most important thing we should be looking at.
Now, we're just hearing from administrators at the Kern County High School District and the Panama Buena Vista School District. They're saying 14% of students were absent today, which is about normal. We tried to find out how many students in the various school districts have parents who are non-citizens, but we were told that information is not accessible due to federal, state, and civil laws. Jim Robin.
All right, Tisha, thank you. Critics of today's boycott say there's a flip side to all that's being said about the benefits illegal immigrants bring to our economy. A recent study by the Federation for American Immigration Reform found that illegal immigration costs California taxpayers $10.5 billion a year for education, health care, and incarceration. Now, those costs are offset somewhat by state and local taxes. Sales taxes paid by undocumented immigrants tabbed at some $1.6 billion a year. And critics of the study say beyond taxes, worker productivity contributes greatly to California's economy, especially agriculture. But the FAIR report concludes that California's addiction to cheap illegal alien labor is bankrupting the state and posing enormous burdens on the state's shrinking middle-class tax base. So, using figures from the FAIR study, California taxpayers would save almost $30 million in health care, education, and incarceration costs if all illegal immigrants took today off and were truly invisible. All right, we have much more on today's nationwide boycott still ahead here at 5 Plus. We'll tell you